CBS 7 News presents Closer Look.
Hello, everyone. Last night, the Odessa City Council discussed an ordinance, a proposed ordinance, that would regulate phone use behind the wheel of a car, including a ban on texting, emailing, and internet use altogether. But lack of support from the City Council stopped it before it even went to a final vote. As CBS 7's Shannon Murray explains, supporters of the ordinance, the proposed ordinance, are not giving up that easily.
If they're in support of this ordinance, to give them an idea of who's here.
A crowd full of supporters, some even giving emotional testimonies.
This is very personal for me. I was one of the survivors from texting drive. There's not many of them.
Others spoke out against the ordinance, citing constitutional rights.
And the more and more that we micromanage on the national, state, and local levels, the less liberty we have.
I think it's time to just say, stop. So I make the motion.
Is there a second? Motion dies for a lack of second.
I would like to compliment Councilman Goetz because he had the political will to make the motion. I would like to chastise the other council members because they did not have the political will to second the motion or to bring it to a vote.
I want it stopped. But I don't think the ordinance is the answer.
Councilmember Barbara Graff believes changing the law is not going to make a positive difference.
They're texting now like this. In the ordinance, how are they going to text? To me, that's a lot more dangerous.
Instead, she's asking for education on the dangers of distracted driving.
I do know that education can and does change things.
But still, supporters say the ordinance is what's needed to take a step in the right direction.
Just like seat belts, just like running stoplights, failure to yield, if it's a law, then you're expected to obey the law. And if not, you have to pay the consequences.
And they aren't giving up the fight just yet.
We'll explore every alternative that we have to get this council to come to a vote. When you're trying to save lives, you do everything you can to save lives.
Well, you just heard what happened at last night's City Council meeting. Well, joining me now is former Odessa City Councilman Royce Bodiford, who campaigned for the proposed ordinance to ban texting while driving. And also with us is Caleb Leverett, who spoke against the ban. And let's begin with both of your reactions to last night's proposed ordinance, gentlemen, which didn't even get a second motion so that a vote could be taken. Royce Bodiford, what did you think?
Well, I was highly disappointed, Mike, because the council chose not to bring it to a vote, although there was a motion made and it died with lack of second, and obviously that killed it immediately. I was very disappointed, encouraged by the number of people that turned out who favored the ordinance, but certainly disappointed with our council.
All right, Caleb Leverett, you were there last night. You were impassioned about this. Tell me what you thought after the vote.
I was very pleased. Like I said yesterday, it's an encroachment on our liberties. I just don't think responsible citizens need to be told what to do, and I think the council did really well in by not putting that in as a rule, as a law, yet one more law that we have to go by.
All right. Did you actively, and Caleb, I'm asking you this, did you actively lobby council members to vote against the ban on texting while driving? Is that something, did you speak to them beforehand?
No, sir, no. Actually, I was on Facebook and I saw CBS 7's post about it, that there was going to be a meeting, and it was kind of a spur of the moment deal.
It was something you obviously felt passionate about, nevertheless, I take it.
Oh yes, very, very, very.
All right.
Liberty robbing is always a passion of mine. I don't want it for me, and I don't want it for my kids. I don't want it for the citizens of Odessa.
I understand what you're saying. Royce Bodiford, did you speak to the council members prior to the vote, and if so, what did they tell you?
Yes, I did, Mike. I went to the council in June, their last meeting in June, which was about the 28th of June. I appeared before them then, expressing in a 3-minute session there on a non-agenda item my desire to get something done about texting and driving. Also, I came back again on September the 13th, made another appeal, gave them some more information, gave them some research. So I had 2 appearances, a non-agenda item prior to the vote last night before the city council.
All right, you had one vote of support out of the whole group. Did you expect it to be so slim?
Not quite that slim. I expected the council to bring it to a vote. I did not predict how the council would vote, but I thought at least they would bring it to a vote, and I was hoping they would give it either an up or down vote, one of the two.
All right, as I understand it, Royce, there are two ways to get this proposed ordinance back on the council agenda for another vote. How does that work?
Well, it works like this, Mike. Anybody who voted on the side that was for it could bring it back, like Dr. Goetz could bring it back, for example, because he did make the motion. However, in the absence of somebody bringing it back, then you could go out and get a proposal from the people. In other words, an initiative. In simple terms, it's a petition. Get a petition from the grassroots people, have them sign that petition, bring it back to the city, and have them go through it and put it back on the agenda.
All right, it's going to take a lot of folks, though, to get that petition in. You think you can do that?
Well, it'll take a lot of people working on it. It'll take a groundswell. It can be done, but it's a monumental task, and I'm looking at what the qualifications are to get it back on the agenda. But there'll be several thousand signatures required to get it back on the agenda as an initiative.
All right. Caleb, if that proposed texting while driving ban makes it back on the council agenda again, what are your plans? Are you going to launch your own petition?
Speaking of grassroots, people like me are grassroots. Absolutely. If that sort of law is brought back on the table to be passed, to be put upon the citizens again, I most certainly am going to make sure and do everything I can to spread the word. And more importantly, whether a law gets passed or not, the positive thing I see about this is we all realize that texting while driving is a horrible idea. But the good side is that the people on Facebook and on here on the TV shows are talking about it. The people are talking with themselves, and I think that's a lot better approach to figure out ideas on how to make our communities better without passing taxing laws, which that's all it'd be, just a tax.
If I'm reading you right, then you're talking about government control. You're not really talking about what they're trying to do with the ordinance. Is that correct?
Beg your pardon?
You're talking about something bigger than just the issue. You're talking about government control and too many laws on the books. Am I reading you right?
Oh, absolutely. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of laws on the books, and every day there's always, and every year it comes with, as technology progresses, there's always going to be more wrecks and more problems. People are dying while texting while driving. Well, nobody's calling for a ban on automobiles, and it's a fact that 100% of all deaths by automobiles happen in automobiles. But life is a risk, and we're all okay with taking that risk when we get in our car every day. As far as teenagers texting while driving, I've just found out today there's actually apps for phones where, when left to the free market, companies were able to come up with solutions for phones where if the GPS senses that the person is moving over 10 miles an hour, in other words driving, then it's completely disabled. If they get an incoming message that just says, "I'm driving right now, I'll call you back," or
I've heard about that, Caleb. Mr. Bodiford, do you have a final word?
Yes, I would like to say that there are grassroots people out there who are in favor of the ordinance. I am against government intervention in our lives just as much as anybody, probably as much as Mr. Leverett is, although I feel like this is one of those cases where, as an example, drunk driving is against the law. Drunk driving gets people killed, and it's against the law to drive and drink. It should be against the law to not text, to do your thing on your instrument there, whether it be electronic, whatever it is. And there again, it's just another tool in the toolbox to help us save more lives. And that's what we're in the business of, saving lives.
All right, gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us. And thank you both for your involvement in our city government. Perhaps we will all gather together again in the future.